Welcome to Manic Ramblings and Sober Thoughts, a podcast about men's mental health told through the eyes of a bipolar alcoholic in recovery. I'm Zachary Rose and I'll be your host. In a world where nearly 80% of suicides are men, millions are silently fighting battles nobody sees. Too many men are struggling with depression, trauma, addiction, bipolar disorder, anxiety, and loneliness completely alone. Many go undiagnosed for years because they were taught to stay quiet, suck it up, and keep moving no matter how bad things get. This podcast is for the men trying to survive their own minds, the ones drowning in racing thoughts, the ones self-medicating to quiet the chaos, the ones carrying trauma they never learned how to process, the fathers trying to break cycles, the husbands trying to become better men, the men who feel completely alone, even in a crowded room. This is not therapy. This is not polished, this is honesty. The manic thoughts, the sober reflections, the guilt, the anger, the addiction, the healing, the rebuilding, one conversation at a time. If you're struggling, you're not weak, and you're definitely not alone. Welcome to Manic Ramblings and Sober Thoughts. Welcome back to Manic Ramblings and Sober Thoughts. I'm Zach, and today I'm talking about mental illness, not the social media version, not the motivational quote version, not the version people like to talk about when everything works out in the end. The real version, the ugly version, the painful version, the version that almost cost me my marriage, the version that hurt my family, the version that forced me to completely rebuild my life. And before I tell you my story, I want to talk about something that has bothered me ever since being diagnosed with bipolar disorder and ADHD. You know, one thing that bothered me ever since being diagnosed is how differently society treats mental illness compared to every other disease. Because now that I've lived it, I can tell you this is not a choice. Nobody chooses to spend years trying medications. Nobody chooses side effects. Nobody chooses therapy appointments. Nobody chooses manic episodes. Nobody chooses depression. Nobody chooses paranoia. Nobody chooses to watch their life fall apart because of an illness they didn't even know they had. Yet somehow people still act like mental illness is a personal failure instead of a medical condition. If someone tells you that they have diabetes, nobody questions it. Nobody tells them just to try harder. Nobody tells them to stop taking insulin. Nobody tells them to simply think positive. If someone gets diagnosed with cancer, people rally around them. People support them. People encourage them. People understand they're fighting a disease. But when it comes to mental illness, people often say things like, just get over it. Just stop thinking that way. Everyone gets sad. You're making excuses. And for years, I believed some of those things myself. I thought I was lazy. I thought I wasn't trying hard enough. I thought if I just worked harder, everything would magically get better. But that's not how mental illness works. You can't outwork bipolar disorder. You can't out-discipline ADHD. You can't simply decide not to be sick. Treatment matters. Medication matters. Therapy matters. Support matters. And untreated mental illness can absolutely become life-threatening. It destroys relationships. It destroys families. It destroys careers. And sometimes it destroys lives. The strongest thing I ever done wasn't pretending I was okay. The strongest thing I've ever done was finally admitting I was not okay. Growing up, I always knew something felt different. I was called lazy. I was called dramatic. I was called sensitive. I was called angry. I was called too much. I was called a problem. Honestly, I was called all of the above. I got put on an IEP, and everyone moved on. Nobody asked why. Nobody asked what was happening in my head. Nobody asked if there was something deeper going on. I mean, there were signs. There's plenty of signs, but it was the easy thing. He has a learning disability. That's it. A learning disability. What was my learning disability? I couldn't sit still in class. If I wasn't interested in something, I really didn't give a shit. But if I was interested in it, I was going to do the best I could. I was going to research. I would ace that stuff. How did nobody know? I'm not dumb. But if you would ask, my special education teachers, probably wouldn't be the smartest person in the world. I have trouble focusing. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Wow. Almost like it fits me to a T. I wish somebody would have asked what was wrong instead of, hey, he's not smart. Get him an IEP. We'll get him help. We'll give him answers to questions. We'll do that. Then scoot on along. No, that didn't help me. That didn't help me at all. Special education. For years, those labels became my identity. I didn't think I had bipolar disorder. I didn't think I had ADHD. I thought I was broken. I thought I was lazy. I thought I was selfish. I thought I was angry. I thought I was a bad husband. I thought I was a bad father. When you hear those things long enough, eventually you start believing them. And I did. As I got older, things got worse, but I didn't know why. I didn't understand what mania was. I didn't understand paranoia. I didn't understand racing thoughts. I didn't understand why my brain seemed to work differently than everybody else's. I thought everyone hated me. I thought the world was against me. I thought people were conspiring against me. I thought my wife was cheating. I thought I was a terrible father. And the crazy thing is, I believed every single bit of it. Because when you're in it, it feels real. When I was manic, man, I didn't know. I had no clue. I convinced myself that nothing was wrong with me. Everybody else was the problem, I was paranoid. I didn't trust people. I thought everybody was against me. But the only person that was against me was myself. It affected friendships. It affected relationships. It affected my wife. It affected my kids, all different ways. I can count on one hand how many friends I have after all of this. And I'm sure there's a reason for that. And I'm sure I burnt those bridges. I don't know how, but I know I did. My family. It caused my wife to walk out the door. I was very verbally abusive. I said the nastiest things. And it caused a PFA, a protection from abuse. It also caused divorce papers that are still sitting there. I pray that those disappear and we get rid of those and we can make it through it because, we're on a great track right now. But that's in the future. That's for the future to decide. My kids, I don't know to the extent that it affected my kids, but I can tell you, life's a whole lot different now. They come to me with things. They talk to me. They want to be around me. That wasn't like that before, and I didn't even notice. I didn't notice at all. Every day, everything changed with that PFA. I was at home. I was completely blindsided. I felt like somebody stabbed me in the chest. That's the best way I can describe it. Everything stopped. Everything changed. That's that was the moment I realized I might lose everything. My marriage, my family, my children, everything. I was at home building a coat rack, and I got a knock on the door, and it was a cop. Said, "Hey, you're getting served a PFA." And my thoughts were like, what the hell's that? You got to get your stuff, get out of the house. You need to find somewhere to stay. I'm like, okay. It's going to be a couple night thing, whatever. But then I looked at it, I was like, oh, I can't contact my wife. I can't talk to my kids. And look at this. The court date is after Christmas. And I broke down at that point. It scared the shit out of me. I was thinking, am I ever going to see my kids again? I thought, is there a chance that I won't be married after this? That I will lose the love of my life? Then Christmas came. And I don't think I'll ever forget that Christmas. I woke up with deep sadness. The kind of sadness that sits in your chest. The kind that makes it hard to breathe. I spent that entire day at my sister's house crying. My wife wasn't there. My kids weren't there. I wasn't opening presents. I wasn't making memories. I wasn't hearing my children laugh. The only glimpse I had of my family was through Snapchat. My wife posted photos so I could see the kids. I know she wasn't trying to hurt me. I know she was trying to help. But honestly, it tore me apart. I watched my family celebrate Christmas through a screen. Seeing the people I love most in the world and not being there, knowing exactly why, that fucking hurt. My kids were happy in those photos. They were having fun. And I'm glad they were having fun. Because they deserved it. I was the one that put us in this situation. Christmas, I went to my sister's house. And I just could not stop crying. And they went ahead to try to get me to stop crying and trying to brighten my day. They went ahead and gave me my Christmas gift, which was a really nice cigar set. Came with 4 cigars, a cutter, and a torch lighter. And it was so awesome. But it was just hard. I ended up wanting to leave very quick on just because, as bad as it sounds, I was hearing laughter from my niece and my nephew, which is awesome. But then again, that should have been my kids' laughter I was hearing, and it just got to be too hard. I would have given even anything to be there with my family. I missed them so goddamn much. And even just thinking about it now, I miss them. I missed them. I missed Christmas. After that, I went to the cemetery to see Violet. I sat there. I told her I loved her. I told her Merry Christmas. And then I sat in silence. Just silence. Violet. I got to see her on Christmas. And I'm so grateful for that. I've pushed down grief, grieving losing her for so long, and it just felt right to be there. I'm going to move on from this. The hardest thing my wife ever said to me was simple. You scared me. I had to get out. And the worst part, she was right. That sentence forced me to stop blaming everyone else and start looking at myself. I was sick, not weak, not evil, not beyond help. I was sick. When I finally got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I felt relieved. Not scared, relieved. Because now we had a name. And if we had a name, maybe we could fix it. Maybe there was hope. Maybe I wasn't just a bad person. Maybe something was actually wrong. Then treatment began. And treatment is hard. I've tried more medications than I can count. Different dosages, different combinations, different side effects, different frustrations. And every time something didn't work, a piece of me broke because I just wanted to be okay. I just wanted to be normal. The hardest side effect for me has been internal restlessness. It just felt like there's bugs or something crawling under my skin if I wasn't moving from the waist down. My legs just had to constantly move, but they were so sore from constantly moving, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't sit still. I am still sore from that. Trying to figure out whether medication is helping, trying to figure out what's causing what, trying to find the right combination. It's fucking exhausting. It sucks. Something's working, but it's got another side effect. All I want to do is be normal. I just want to be normal like everybody else. That's all I want. Then there's alcohol. For years I thought it helped. The truth? I was self-medicating. I used it to sleep. I used it to numb things. I used it to black out. I tried to use it to forget. But the problems were still there when I woke up. Eventually I had to face everything. My health, my mental health, my mistakes, my accountability. And it got so bad that I wound up in the emergency room with strong withdrawal symptoms that I actually had to get medicated because of. I didn't realize things were that bad. I didn't realize that I got that bad. But you know what? Today I'm sober. Next month I'll be celebrating 6 months of sobriety, half a year. And sobriety has forced me to face emotions I spent years running from. The hardest one is sadness, because all the things you push down eventually come back up. But sobriety has taught me something. Life is better sober. Surely not easier, but better. For me, for my wife, for my children, for everyone around me. My first AA meeting I went there. I wasn't planning on talking. I was just going to sit there, kind of get the vibe for it, and probably come up with an excuse where I wouldn't go back. But it got to me. And I let everything flow. The bad, the worse, and the flat out ugly about me. I let it all out in a just balls of tears. Just tears streaming down my face. You know what they did afterwards? They each gave me a hug and said, "I'm glad you're here, Zach." Then fast forward to 1 month in, Maddie and I were still very much on the rocks. The staying married was definitely still a long way out. Definitely the possibility was there, but it was not very high. But she went with me. And thank God. That meant so much to me. It meant so much to me that after the ceremony in the car, I gave her my 24-hour coin as a promise to keep fighting for us and to keep fighting for sobriety. Because one thing sobriety has taught me is life's better sober for everybody. Recovery isn't one moment, it's every day. My wife goes to Al-Anon. We're preparing to start couples therapy. We're still healing, still growing, still learning. Forgiveness is slow, and I'm still working on it. If you're listening to this and you're struggling, I want you to hear me. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are not a failure. The strongest thing I ever did wasn't pretending I was okay. The strongest thing I ever did was finally admitting I was not. If you're struggling, ask for help. If you're hurting, ask for help. If you're drowning, ask for help. Because your diagnosis isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of understanding it. Mental illness took a lot from me, but it never took my ability to keep fighting. And as long as I can keep fighting, there is hope. For years I thought I was lazy. I thought I was broken. I thought I was too much. Now I know I was sick. And once I finally learned the difference, my life started to change. This has been another episode of Manic Ramblings and Sober Thoughts. Until next time.